Well, William Ruto of Kenya never fails to disappoint us. Now, we have come across with the news that Kenya is about to host the France Africa Summit in 2026. Yeah, so this is the France Africa Summit. What it is that it's just like one of those summits where Turkey Africa, Japan Africa, US Africa, China Africa, you know, those summits. Everybody has this one country versus Africa, one country and versus Africa, the whole 54 member states flocking to one country to participate. So this summit, so what France used to host it in its own country, it happens once in 3 years, just like the China-Africa Summit. Now it's kind of following the steps of China because China now started to host, and also I think Japan, but for sure China is hosting the China-Africa Summit, one time in China, the other time in Africa, in selected African countries. So now France is for the first time holding this summit in Africa. And guess which country will do that from all the countries? It's Kenya, William Ruto, of course. Now, this was revealed during the United Nations General Assembly, the 79th session that just concluded summit. It looks like Kenya has, you know, this ritual every time there is this summit that they kind of shock their own people and Africans. Last time in December 2022, when the US Africa was summit hosted by Biden in Washington, the news of Kenya contributing to Haiti's peacekeeping mission was revealed. Now in this summit, they come up, you know, Macron having this side meetings, the marginal meetings during the United Nations General Assembly, breaks the news that Kenya will host this France Africa Summit. You know, actually France used to, it was not totally in France that was hosting this France Africa Summit. It used to be also in some African countries, but only in its own colonies. Now it's the first time this is happening outside of France and outside of a French colony country in Africa, which is Kenya. What is the reason? I mean, do we even ask why for anything that William Ruto is doing? Because that man is just he's known to do the impossibles. So yeah, of course, there are several meanings that you can give, that you can interpret what this means from both sides. Kenya has some things that they're saying, what this means for them, but we can definitely tell what this means for France. Now, what does it signal? It signals, of course, you know, this comes amid where France's relation with its colonies is troubled, and countries, the AES, the African, the Sahel states, the Alliance of the Sahel states, are detaching. They have detached, actually not detaching, have detached their relation with France. Those are Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and even in some other countries of what used to be French colony, France, you know, its popularity has decreased. The African people are more and more aware, and actually they want their countries to follow the footsteps of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, or to join the Alliance of the Sahel states. And that's what we are seeing. The people of Senegal are demanding from Diomaye Faye, although Diomaye Faye is not going to do it. He has just manifested. He's just another puppet in the region. Now, what France is attempting to do is that, you know, it's expanding its relation beyond the Francophone, beyond its colonies in Africa. But before it was just in West Africa, in which so much it was in control, and continuing its neo-colonialism. But now it's saying, yo, guess what? I'm still in the continent. It doesn't matter that you were my colony or not. I can still be there and do this France Africa summit in a non-francophone, in a non-francophone country. Let's put it that way. And by doing that, it's also actually following the cue of the Commonwealth, of British Commonwealth. British Commonwealth has now started to include those countries who are not the British colony, like for example, Gabon, Togo has joined, and Gabon, Togo used to be the French colony, and also Mozambique, which was under Portugal, which is a Portuguese-speaking country. So, and also Rwanda. Rwanda has adopted English as its official language just 20 years ago. Before that, it was a French-speaking country, beside, of course, their own language. Now, Kenya, what it is saying is that it's saying this will exert geopolitical influence. I don't know what kind of geopolitical what in the region, that Kenya's relevance to the West. I mean, you have done it already. You don't have to do extra. You don't have to do crazy things. I mean, William Ruto, you have shown us already that you are, their errand boy. You don't have to do more extra. And another thing that the Kenyan officials are saying that it will assert that leadership of William Ruto in climate change diplomacy, as he has been picking this. And I mean, William Ruto is nothing but he's a guy that again and again proved that he is not walking his talk. He's just talking. That's all he does. So it doesn't matter whether he talks about climate change or the African Continental Free Trade Area, or what he said he will stop being summoned by these non-African countries for their summit. You again and again showed us hopping in your plane. In fact, you are known to be the traveling man. So you do nothing but talking. So anyway, but that's what Kenyan authorities are saying. And I quote, this is what the Kenyan officials say: an excellent, meaning this summit, an excellent opportunity to foster French-Africa relation and demonstrate the increasing irrelevance of Anglophone, Francophone divide in the continent. Really? Now you are telling, when, France is actually saying, by doing this in a non-Francophone country in Africa, France is saying, I'm pretty much present in every African country. It doesn't matter you speak my language or not. Tell me how this is really relevant for Kenya, except for France. How this is relevant? Yeah, so it is what it is. But meanwhile, France is also holding its Francophonie, it's the the Organization of International Francophonie, International OIF, Organization of International Francophonie, is holding its summit in Paris, in France, where all Francophone countries are attending. But let us know in the comment section, what do you think of this? Anyway, for those of you who are interested, this summit, the France Africa Summit, that's going to be held in Kenya in 2026. The agendas are gender equality, official development assistance and its impacts, democracy and governance, of course. I mean, when you are with Africans, you have to talk about democracy and governance. The biodiversity, new technology use, and mobility. So to Kenyans, I ask you, how do you view this? Is this really a good thing? How the officials are just talking for Kenya, or is it a bad thing? Let us know in the comments. I really want to hear from Kenyans, and of course from all of you. Meanwhile, I want to share with you. This is what's going on in Paris, where those the International Organization of Francophonie, most of its members are African countries, as you know, most of its colonies, French colonies, were in Africa. Let me just share this with you.
Leaders, French-speaking French President Emmanuel Macron hosting dozens of leaders, French-speaking countries for a summit he hopes will boost French influence in a world beset by crises, in particular Africa. The leaders gathering this Friday and Saturday for what's called the Francophonie Summit, the first time the event has been held in France for 33 years. Kara Scarland reports.
It's the first time in 33 years that France has hosted the International Organization of the French-speaking world for this summit, which has the theme Create, Innovate and Undertake in French. And even while this summit's really about fostering a democracy in member countries, it's playing out amid a background of conflict and tensions. 3 Sahel countries, Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, were not invited, suspended from the organization as relations broke down with former colonial leader France after military coup d'etat. This is as Guinea, by contrast, was reintegrated into the organization, even as it's ruled by a military junta for the past 3 years. It's also playing out amid a number of African continent conflicts, particularly the in the eastern region of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the armed conflict that's playing out there. Macron, on the sidelines of this summit, met with Felix Tshisekedi, the Congolese president, this morning, and will meet with his Rwandan counterpart on Saturday. But another conflict that's set to be at the heart of these discussions is that in Lebanon, as Israel's war spilled over into the country recently. That will be the subject of a roundtable on Saturday. But Friday's talks are set to center around technology and how to make the French language, give it a powerful place in the world of tech, especially in the age of AI.
But what you have to know is actually the teaching of French language is getting low and low, and it's something a research conducted by their own people. Actually, this organization of International Francophonie, and they say that the French language, the teaching of French language is getting less and less. And as you know, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, they have actually removed French language as their official language, and they have adopted their local language. Anyway, let us know in the comment section. Shout out to all of you. Mikey, Simba, good to have you here again. Marlene Carr, welcome. Miriam Pierre. I am like this also, but this man's just out of control. But I am sure this is not something what the Kenyans want. We have seen already what the Gen Z has done. It's just crazy. But yeah, let us know in the comment section. Thanks again, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.